The polluter pays principle stands as a cornerstone of environmental jurisprudence, compelling polluters to assume the financial burden of addressing pollution that poses risks to human health or the natural environment. This doctrine serves both as a constitutional imperative and a pivotal instrument of sustainable development in India, seeking to mitigate environmental degradation by ensuring accountability on the part of polluters. Greetings once again. This is your host Harshit Sinha, who is presenting an engaging and pertinent discourse on waste management. Today we delve into an in-depth exploration of India's Polluter Pays Principle, PPP. We commence by tracing the origins of the PPP in the Indian context, delving into its historical evolution and undertaking a comparative analysis of its application across different jurisdictions. The discussion proceeds to elucidate the core tenets of the principle, its critical significance, and the legal framework underpinning its implementation. Furthermore, we examine the practical application of the PPP, assessing its efficacy in advancing sustainable development. We also address the challenges encountered in enforcing this principle, the issues surrounding compliance, and its synergy with Extended Producer Responsibility (EPR). Concluding this discourse, we reflect on the challenges and opportunities presented by the PPP, offering thoughtful recommendations and charting a visionary path forward to fortify its role within India's environmental governance framework. Let us embark on this illuminating discussion. The Polluter Pays Principle finds its foundation in the landmark Stockholm Declaration of 1972, which established environmental protection as a global priority. Principle 22 of this declaration emphasized the responsibility of nations to ensure that environmental damage is rectified by those who cause it, laying the groundwork for the adoption of PPP in international and national frameworks. In India, PPP emerged as a vital tool in environmental law, championed through judicial interpretation and legislative measures. Indian judiciary played a pivotal role in embedding PPP within the nation's environmental governance. The Supreme Court recognized the principle as integral to sustainable development, aligning it with the constitutional mandate of safeguarding the environment under Article 48A and Article 51AG. Landmark judgments such as Indian Council for Enviro-Legal Action v. Union of India 1996 solidified PPP's application, holding polluters liable for environmental damages. The court emphasized that the financial burden of restoration must fall on those responsible, ensuring accountability. This principle continues to evolve as a cornerstone of India's environmental legal framework, addressing the dual aims of deterrence and remediation. PPP not only promotes corporate responsibility, but also facilitates the transition towards sustainability by incorporating the costs of pollution into business operations. The Polluter Pays Principle, PPP, has its roots in the Industrial Revolution, which began in India in 1854 with the establishment of the first steam-powered textile mill in Bombay. This era marked the rise of industrial activities, leading to significant environmental degradation and the need for mechanisms to address pollution. The principle gained formal recognition in 1972 when the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, introduced it as a guiding principle for environmental policies. The OECD emphasized that polluters should bear the costs of preventing and managing pollution, ensuring that environmental damage is not subsidized by society. The principle was further reinforced at the global level during the 1992 Rio Earth Summit, where it was enshrined in the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development. Principle 16 of the declaration explicitly stated that polluters should bear the costs of pollution, incorporating environmental considerations into economic decision-making. This marked a significant step in integrating PPP into international environmental governance. Today, PPP serves as a cornerstone of sustainable development, promoting accountability and encouraging industries to adopt cleaner practices. It continues to evolve as a critical tool for addressing environmental challenges globally. The Polluter Pays Principle is a cornerstone of environmental law, ensuring that polluters bear the costs of managing and mitigating pollution. Its legal framework, enforcement mechanisms, and scope vary across jurisdictions, including India, the USA, and the European Union. In India, PPP is embedded in environmental governance through judicial interpretations and legislation. Landmark cases like the Indian Council for Enviro-Legal Action versus the Union of India and the Well-Ordered Citizens Welfare Forum versus the Union of India have reinforced its application. The Environment Protection Act of 1986 and the National Green Tribunal (NGT) play pivotal roles in enforcing PPP, holding polluters accountable for environmental restoration. In the USA, PPP is implemented through laws like the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation and Liability Act (SECLA), commonly known as the Superfund Act. This legislation mandates polluters to finance the cleanup of hazardous waste sites. The Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) enforces PPP through its Enforcement First policy, ensuring polluters cover remediation costs at Superfund sites. The European Union integrates PPP into its environmental policies, guided by Article 191(2) of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union (TFEU). The Environmental Liability Directive establishes liability for environmental damage, requiring polluters to prevent and remediate harm. However, inconsistent application across member states remains challenging, as highlighted in the European Court of Auditors report. PPP extends to industrial pollution, waste management, and water and soil contamination. While its enforcement mechanisms differ, the principle universally promotes accountability and sustainable development. Strengthening its implementation across jurisdictions is vital for addressing global environmental challenges. The Polluter Pays Principle (PPP) embodies core tenets that ensure environmental accountability and sustainable practices. Among its key principles are cost allocation, preventive action, and comprehensive liability. Cost allocation lies at the heart of PPP, requiring polluters to bear the financial responsibility for the damage their actions inflict on the environment. This principle shifts the economic burden of managing pollution from society and governments to the entities responsible for environmental harm. It incentivizes polluters to adopt eco-friendly practices by internalizing environmental costs into their operations. Prevention action focuses on averting environmental degradation at its source. PPP encourages polluters to invest in preventive measures rather than merely addressing damage after it occurs. By emphasizing prevention, this principle promotes cleaner production technologies and efficient resource use, ensuring long-term environmental sustainability. Comprehensive liability ensures that polluters are not only responsible for immediate damage, but also for the long-term consequences of their actions. This principle holds polluters accountable for restoration of polluted ecosystems and compensates affected communities. Legal frameworks often incorporate this aspect to ensure fairness and full accountability. The Polluter-Pays Principle holds immense significance in shaping global and national environmental policies, promoting sustainability and accountability. International Environmental Law (PPP) is firmly embedded in international legal frameworks, fostering cooperation among nations to address cross-border environmental challenges. Principle 16 of the Rio Declaration emphasizes that polluters should bear the costs of pollution, ensuring that economic activities are environmentally responsible. This has influenced treaties, conventions, and national laws worldwide. 2. Cost allocation methodology. A crucial aspect, the principle ensures that the costs of managing pollution, including prevention and remediation, are borne by those responsible rather than society or governments. This method drives businesses to internalize environmental costs, paving the way for cleaner production practices. 3. Reducing environmental degradation. PPP acts as a deterrent against activities causing environmental harm. By making polluters liable, it incentivizes investment in sustainable practices and technologies that mitigate environmental risks. This principle has proven effective in tackling issues such as industrial emissions, waste disposal, and habitat destruction. 4. Accountability. PPP fosters accountability, ensuring polluters are answerable for their actions and the impacts on ecosystems and human health. In nations like India, landmark judgments such as Velare's Citizens Welfare Forum v. Union of India have underscored this principle, aligning legal systems with environmental goals. The Polluter Pays Principle is firmly embedded in India's environmental governance through a robust legal framework, including the Environmental Protection Act 1986, Hazardous Waste Rules 2016, and constitutional provisions. Environmental Protection Act 1986. This act serves as an umbrella legislation for environmental protection in India. Enacted in response to the Bhopal gas tragedy and inspired by the Stockholm Conference of 1972, it empowers the central government to take measures for preventing and controlling pollution. The Act provides the legal basis for implementing PPP by holding polluters accountable for environmental harm. Hazardous Waste Rules 2016. These rules regulate the management, handling, and transport movement of hazardous wastes. They emphasize the responsibility of waste generators to ensure environmentally sound disposal, aligning with the PPP. The rules also mandate the use of extended producer responsibility (EPR) for specific waste streams, reinforcing the principle of accountability. Constitutional provisions. The Indian Constitution, Article 48A, directs the state to protect and improve the environment, while Article 51AG obligates citizens to safeguard natural resources. These provisions provide a constitutional foundation for PPP, ensuring its alignment with sustainable development goals. The implementation of the Polluter Pays Principle (PPP) in India is facilitated by key institutions such as the Central Pollution Control Board (CPCB), State Pollution Control Boards (SPCBs), and the National Green Tribunal (NGT). Established under the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, the CPCB serves as the apex body for pollution control in India. It formulates policies, sets environmental standards, and monitors compliance. The CPCB also coordinates with SPCBs to ensure uniform implementation of environmental laws. Operating under the guidance of the CPCBs, SPCBs are responsible for enforcing pollution control measures at the state level. They issue permits, monitor industrial compliance, and take corrective actions against violators. National Green Tribunal (NGT), established under the National Green Tribunal Act 2010. The NGT is a specialized judicial body for resolving environmental disputes. It enforces PPP by holding polluters accountable and ensuring compensation for environmental damage. Together, these institutions play a pivotal role in advancing sustainable development in India. The implementation of the Polluter Pays Principle in PPP in India is marked by challenges and considerations such as identifying polluters, lack of sufficient incentives, resource constraints, and issues surrounding common pool resources. Identifying polluters, pools, or pools. Among the primary challenges in implementing PPP is accurately identifying the source of pollution, with a multitude of industrial and non-industrial activities contributing to environmental degradation. Pinpointing responsibility can be complex. This is further complicated by diffuse pollution sources such as agricultural runoff and vehicular emissions. Insufficient incentives. There is often a lack of financial and policy-driven incentives to encourage polluters to adopt eco-friendly practices. This limits the willingness of industries to invest in pollution control measures or cleaner production technologies, hindering PPP's effective implementation. Resource constraints. Both regulatory authorities and polluters often face significant resource constraints. Insufficient financial, technological, and human resources impede the enforcement of PPP and the adoption of sustainable practices. Detailed information is available through Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change website in India. Common pool resources. Managing resources such as air, water bodies, and forests, which are shared by multiple users, poses unique challenges. Ensuring accountability for pollution of these resources requires collective efforts and strong regulatory mechanisms. The effective implementation of the Polluter-Pays Principle in Pahel, India faces several compliance challenges such as technological limitations, awareness gaps, weak incentives, and enforcement delays. Technological limitations. Many industries, especially small and medium enterprises, SMEs, lack access to advanced pollution control technology. Outdated equipment and insufficient investment in innovation make it difficult for these entities to comply with PPP standards, hindering progress in reducing environmental harm. Awareness gap. Limited awareness among stakeholders, including industries, communities, and policy makers, poses a significant obstacle. Many polluters are unaware of their responsibilities under PPP or the broader benefits of sustainable practices, leading to unintentional non-compliance. Weak incentives, insufficient financial and policy incentives discourage industries from adopting eco-friendly measures. Subsidies or tax benefits for cleaner technologies and sustainable practices are often inadequate or poorly targeted, reducing motivation for compliance. Enforcement delay. Regulatory bodies often encounter delays in enforcing PPP due to procedural inefficiencies, resource constraints, and backlogs in environmental litigation. These delays undermine the principle's deterrent effect, allowing polluters to evade timely accountability. Insights on enforcement challenges can be found at the National Green Tribunal's website. The Polluter-Pays Principle has demonstrated significant effectiveness in addressing global environmental challenges by fostering accountability, encouraging sustainable practices, and reducing pollution. Global exposure. According to WHO statistics, 99% of the global population is exposed to air pollution levels exceeding WHO guideline limits, with the highest exposure observed in low and middle income countries. The PPP helps mitigate this by compelling polluters to take responsibility for the damage caused and by funding corrective measures. Reduce emissions. By internalizing the cost of pollution, PPP incentivizes industries and individuals to adopt cleaner technologies and practices. This has led to measurable reductions in emissions in regions where the principle is properly implemented. Renewable energy. The principle has played a critical role in driving investments in renewable energy, waste reduction, and eco-innovations. Governments and corporations under the PPP framework are motivated to transition towards sustainable energy sources, reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Financial shift. One of the hallmark achievements of PPP is its ability to shift the financial burden of pollution management from taxpayers to the polluters themselves. Revenues collected under this principle are often directed toward environmental restoration and conservation projects. The Polluter Pays Principle and Extended Producer Responsibility (EPR) are interconnected frameworks that promote environmental accountability by assigning financial and operational responsibility for waste management to producers. 1. Product design. EPR encourages producers to design products with sustainability in mind, focusing on durability, recyclability, and reduced environment. Eco-design principles aim to minimize waste generation and facilitate easier recycling. 2D collection systems. Collection systems, a critical component of EPR, ensure the efficient retrieval of post-consumer products for proper disposal or recycling. These systems often involve partnerships between producers, local authorities, and waste management entities. 3. Recycling and recovery. EPR mandates producers to establish recycling and recovery mechanisms for their products. This includes setting up infrastructure for material recovery such as plastics, metals, and electronics to reduce landfill dependency. Recycling not only conserves resources but also reduces greenhouse gas emissions. 4. Reporting and compliance. Robust reporting and compliance frameworks are essential for the success of EPR. Producers are required to document their waste management efforts, including collection rates, recycling targets, and recovery outcomes. Transparent reporting ensures accountability and helps regulatory bodies monitor compliance. Non-compliance can result in penalties, emphasizing the importance of adhering to EPR obligations. The Polluter-Pays Principle (PP) in India faces a mix of challenges and opportunities, shaping its implementation and future trajectory. Challenges. One significant challenge is the lack of robust enforcement mechanisms. Regulatory bodies often face resource constraints, including limited financial, technological, and human resources, which hinder effective monitoring and compliance. Additionally, identifying polluters, especially in cases of diffuse pollution sources like agricultural runoff, remains complex. Another issue is the insufficient incentives for industries to adopt sustainable practices, as financial and policy-driven motivators are often inadequate. Furthermore, delays in enforcement and litigation weaken the deterrent effect of PPP, allowing polluters to evade timely accountability opportunities. Despite these challenges, PPP presents significant opportunities for advancing environmental governance in India. It encourages industries to internalize environmental costs, fostering innovation in cleaner technologies and sustainable practices. The principle also aligns with global sustainability goals, promoting renewable energy and waste reduction initiatives. Moreover, PPP can drive investments in environmental restoration projects, creating economic opportunities while addressing ecological concerns. Way forward. To strengthen PPP, India must enhance its regulatory framework by streamlining enforcement processes and addressing resource constraints. Introducing targeted incentives such as subsidies for eco-friendly technologies can motivate industries to comply. Public awareness campaigns are essential to bridge knowledge gaps and foster collective responsibility. Collaborative efforts between government, industries, and communities can ensure the effective implementation of PPP. The Polluter-Pays Principle (PPP) in India presents both challenges and opportunities, particularly in the areas of international cooperation, public awareness, technological enhancement, legal framework strengthening, and flexible cost allocation. International cooperation addressing transboundary India can leverage international agreements and partnerships to adopt best practices and access funding for pollution control initiatives. 2. Public awareness. A significant challenge lies in the lack of awareness among industries and citizens about their responsibilities under PPP. Public education campaigns can bridge this gap, fostering a culture of accountability and sustainable practices. 3. Technological enhancement. Many industries in India lack access to advanced pollution control technologies, hindering compliance. Investments in research and development, along with technology transfer from developed nations, can enhance India's capacity to manage pollution effectively. 4. Legal framework strengthening. While India has robust environmental laws, enforcement remains a challenge. Strengthening the legal framework with clear guidelines, streamlined processes, and stringent penalties can improve compliance. 5. Flexible cost allocation. Implementing PPP requires a balanced approach to cost allocation. Flexible mechanisms that consider the financial capacity of polluters, especially small and medium enterprises, can ensure broader compliance without stifling economic growth. The Polluter-Pays Principle (PPP) in India holds immense potential for advancing environmental governance through strategic integration with climate policy, digital transformation, sectoral expansion, economic instruments, and capacity building. Integration with climate policy (PPP) can be aligned with India's climate goals under the Paris Agreement, ensuring that polluters contribute to climate mitigation and adaptation. This integration can drive investments in renewable energy, carbon capture technologies, and sustainable practices. Digital transformation. Leveraging digital tools like geographic information systems, GIS, blockchain, and IoT can enhance the monitoring and enforcement of PPP. These technologies enable real-time tracking of pollution sources and ensure transparency in compliance. 3. Through sectoral expansion, PPP can be extended to emerging sectors such as e-waste, construction, and agriculture, addressing pollution in these critical areas. Expanding its scope ensures comprehensive environmental protection across industries. 4. Economic instruments. Introducing market-based mechanisms like carbon pricing, green taxes, and tradable permits under PPP can incentivize polluters to adopt cleaner technologies. These instruments align economic growth with environmental sustainability. 5. Capacity building. Strengthening institutional and human resource capacities is essential for effective PPP implementation. Training programs, knowledge sharing platforms, and international collaborations can empower stakeholders to address environmental challenges. So here we are ending this session. However, before proceeding to next related topic, let us recap today's presentation. We started with the introduction of Polluter-Pays Principle in India with its historical background and comparative analysis, PPP in different jurisdictions. This followed up with the core principles and importance of the Polluter-Pays Principle with legal framework supporting it. Later we discussed implementation mechanisms of Polluter-Pays Principle in India, its background, its issues with compliance and effectiveness of the Polluter-Pays Principle. The discussion continued with Polluter-Pays Principle and extended producer responsibility with challenges and opportunities, recommendations for strengthening Polluter-Pays Principle with future directions for giving broader spectrum to Polluter-Pays Principle. The viewer are requested to remain intact with the channel till next week before we dive into the related topic, Polluter-Pays Principle, a key to sustainable environmental management. Till then, wish a happy and prosperous week.